Okay, hello everybody. Some people ask me how to do these more difficult distance formula questions. So in these questions we have two coordinates and we have the distance between them, but we need to find one of the missing values for x or y in the points. So we did this today. So this is how we do it. We are told that d is equal to 13, so we can use that down here. So just fill in what we need, or what we have. So 13 equals, so you can call this whatever, x1, y1, x2, y2. Alright, so we got square root of, so if you want you can call this x1, y1, and this one down here, I'll put it in red, x2, y2. Alright, so we just go ahead like that. So x2 minus x1 is minus 4 minus 8. Minus 4, we have our minus 8 squared, plus y2 minus y1. y2 is q and y1 is 1, so it's q minus 1 squared. Alright, so now let's square both sides. So that implies, that means, so 13 squared, yeah, I'll just put it here, equals. Right, if you square this, that and that cancel out, and you're just left with what's underneath. So I think I went over that a couple of times today, so we should be fine with that now. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is just carry on. So if you square this side, you get rid of the square root. So that equals, well, minus 4 minus 8 squared plus q minus 1 squared. Now that implies, so let's just do out the numbers, 169 equals minus 4 minus 8 is minus 12 squared plus q minus 1 squared. That implies 169 equals 144 plus q minus 1 squared. That implies 169. So I'm doing it step by step, you know what I mean? If you're comfortable skipping steps, fine, but you gotta be careful. So that equals q minus 1 to be squared. That implies 25 is equal to q minus 1 squared. Okay, let's put them in the same format. So we have this number squared. Well, 25 is 5 squared, isn't it? Yeah? Or is it not? What do you think? So there are two ways you can go here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a different color, right? So you can see the different ways that we're going. So I'm going to put this in black, and I'm going to carry on with that. So we can say 5 squared is equal to q minus 1 squared. Makes sense, right? So that means, well, 5 must be the same as q minus 1 since they're both squared. So that implies, whatever, 5 equals q minus 1. That implies, bring the minus 1 across, you're going to get q equals 6. Alright, so that is one answer. So as I told you earlier, often where you're involved with squares, you get two answers, okay, with squares. So that's that. Q is 6. Now, the alternative is, so I'm just going to bring this over to the other side, just so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to copy that over here. I'm going to put a line down between these. And I'm going to make, alright, so that's fine. So if I just get this I don't have my mouse. I left my mouse in Ireland, so I'm having to use the laptop pad. Anyway, so right, this can go two ways. What other number squared gives you 25? Well, it's minus 5, isn't it? Because minus 5 multiplied by minus 5 is actually 25. 5 times 5 is 25, negative times negative, remember? Minus 5 times minus 5 equals, 5 times 5 is 25, negative times negative is a positive, okay? So that's just a little explanation. We'll get rid of that and that. Cool, so we'll carry on. So we know that also equals q minus 1 to be squared. Should put that. That implies negative 5 is equal to q minus 1. So that implies, bring the minus 1 across, becomes plus 1. Minus 5 plus 1 is minus 4, is equal to q. So that's your other answer. And yeah, that's that. Alright, so you're going to get two answers. So we were told the points are, point B is, I'll just drag these down. So if I can go down here. So we're told point A, I'll get rid of this. So point A is A minus, or 8, 1. Point B is actually 4, 6, or, so minus 4, 6, or it's actually minus 4, because that's Q, yeah? So let's think about it. The distance between 8 and negative 4 is 12. Squared at is 144. The difference between 1 and 6 is 5. Squared at is 125. 144 plus 25, sorry. 144 plus 25 is 169. Square root of 169 is 6 or 13. So that works. Here, the gap between 8 and negative 4 is 12. 12 squared is 144. The gap between 1 and negative 4 is 5. 5 squared is 25. 144 plus 25 is 169. Square root is 13. So both of those points work. So in reality, what we actually have, I'll just draw this for you super quick. In reality, so you're going to have your x and your y and your x axis, and then what we actually have is this. All right, so they go on forever. That's what that means, x and y. Now let's just roughly put in these points 8, 1. So 8, 1 is going to be something like that, right? Now we'll call that point A, yeah? Now point B is 13 units away from this. So we're saying point B could be negative 4, 6. So negative 4, 6 is going to be something like that. Yeah? Or it's probably going to be a bit higher, to be honest. So I'll just delete that. I'll move it a little bit higher. So negative 4 probably there, and 6 probably something like that. Alright, now that could be B, or it could be at negative 4, negative 4. So negative 4 is down maybe here. So what you're actually saying is, we could call that B1 and you could call that B2, right? The distance from here to here is 13. That's what we were saying. And the distance from here to here is also 13. Alright, that's what we're actually saying. So there's two possible solutions. That's it. Okay. So, and they're both stuck on the line x equals negative 4, so they're on that line So that's it. That's what we're actually doing. So our two possible answers are -4 or 6, because when we look up at the actual question, it was -4 something. So -4 or 6, or I'll put it in red. -4 or 6, or -4. Alright, I'll actually put it in green so you don't get confused with this. Alright, so that was it. Alright, so we go down to the next question and we'll do this the same way. So just fill in the values. So I just call this x1, y1, x2, y2. Alright, we just fill in what we have. So with these 2 points, m, comma 8, and we're looking for, we're told that the distance between point A and point B is 25. So here we go. So we're going to say 25, that's D, equals the square root of what? So x2 is -6, x minus x1, which is m. y2 is 28, y1 is 8. So it's 28 minus 8. So that implies 25 is equal to the square root of this. We can't really do anything with that. 28 minus 8 is 20, so I'm just going to put 20 squared. Alright, so we move down. That implies I'm going to square both sides, get rid of the square root. So 25 squared is 625 equals, we get rid of the square root because we square both sides. So it's -6. That's why we square both sides, to get rid of the square root. Otherwise there'd be no point in doing it. So we just left with what was under the square root. So that implies 625 minus, well, that's 400, isn't it? 20 squared is 400. 400 equals -6 minus m squared. That implies 225. Now everything is making sense. That number should shout out at you. You should know it's a square number by now. So 225 is equal to -6 minus m squared, and you'll always have a square number here if you did it right. So that implies, what number squared is 225? Well, it's 15 squared. So let's pump the brakes here. So the last time, I'm going to put that over here. So 15 squared, that implies 15 squared equals this, -6 minus m squared. But what does it also, what do we also have? -15 squared is also 225, right? So I'll put it in red. So that implies -15 squared is also equal to -6 minus m squared. Okay? That's 225, also that's 225. I'll jump back to the other side. That implies, well, if that squared is equal to that squared, 15 must equal -6 minus m. That implies, this is going to be a little bit tricky to clean up. Should we bring that over? That implies 21 equals minus m. Well, that implies m is equal to -21. Alright. So we can multiply both sides by -1 or divide by -1, whatever. This side, that implies -15 is equal to -6 minus m. Insides must be the same. That implies, bring that across, becomes +6. So we're going to -15 plus 6 is going to be -9 equals -m. Well, if -9 is -m, that implies 9 is equal to m. Alrighty, so that's that. It's a bit big, isn't it? That's that. I'll make it a different color. green. Alright, so done. So let's just go back to the question. So it was, let's just carry that down. We'll just put it there. So let's get rid of that bottom line. Alrighty. So what we have here is point A is M8. So in other words, point A, the actual answers are point A. Point A could be, well, what could it be? It could be minus 21, comma 8, or 9, comma 8. So let's just check that out. The difference between minus 21 and minus 6 is 15. 15 squared is 225. Yeah. The difference between 8 and 28 is 20. So 20 squared is 400. Let's have a check of this actually. So what we said was, yeah, that's perfect, that's perfect. Sorry, I just second guessed myself for a second. So the difference between 8 and 20 is 28. So that squared is 400. So that plus that is 625. And that's the square root of that is 25, which we were told was the distance. Yeah, that makes sense. That works. And then you can double check again for the second point. 9, 8. So the difference between 9 and minus 6. So difference between 9 and minus 6 is 15. 15 squared is 225. Again, 28 minus 8 is 20. That squared is 400. Add them together, 625. And then you get, yeah, root 625 is 25. And that is that. Okay, I've made enough videos tonight. Yeah, if you have trouble with that, just find me, and but I should be okay. They're two tough examples. Alrighty, I'm out of here.